What really happens in a woman's mind when you go silent? What shifts beneath the surface when you stop texting, calling, or checking in? See, most men think that silence means defeat, that walking away makes you look weak. But here's the controversial truth most won't tell you. A woman's real emotions start to surface when you stop talking to her. Not when you chase, not when you explain, but when you vanish. Welcome back to the channel, fellas. If you're new here, this is where we cut through the noise, the games, and the fluff, and get straight to the truth about women, dating, and how to move like a man with real presence and power. Now, today's topic is one most men have either lived through or will. A woman will do this when you stop talking to her. We're going to break down the psychological response a woman has when you stop reaching out, stop feeding her ego, and pull all your energy back. And no, it's not what you think. The minute you pull your attention, something shifts. Maybe she starts watching your stories again. Maybe she hits you with that "Hey stranger" text. Or maybe she goes cold, angry, or tries to bait you into reacting. Either way, there's always a reaction. And how you handle it makes all the difference. This is not about playing games. It's about understanding the power of silence and how women respond when a man finally stops making her the center of his world. Because when you stop talking, you force her to hear the silence. And believe me, silence can be louder than anything you've ever said. Let's dive in. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my exclusive online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course goes deeper, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. We just finished section 5 in the course, and you won't find this information on videos on my channel. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. 1. She'll pretend she doesn't care. When you stop talking to a woman, especially if she's used to getting your attention, her first move is often to act like it means nothing to her. She'll go cold. She'll act unbothered. She might even post things online that make her look like she's living her best life. But make no mistake, it's not indifference. It's defense. Why does she do this? Simple. Because when a woman feels the sudden loss of your attention, she doesn't want to give you the satisfaction of knowing it affected her. Women hate to feel powerless, especially over a man who used to care. So instead of showing confusion or sadness, she'll double down on appearing strong, independent, and unshaken. That's her way of staying in control of the situation, or at least appearing like she is. Now here's the twist. This act is only for you to see. Most times, she's hurting. She's overthinking. She's wondering why you went cold. But she'll never show that directly. Not at first. Instead, she'll put on the "I'm good without you" mask and hope you're still watching. Women are emotional, but they're also strategic. If you fall for the performance and come running back, she wins. If you stay silent, the mask starts to crack. And here's what's important for you to understand. Your silence is what exposes the truth. If she really didn't care, she wouldn't try to show you how much she doesn't. Think about it. People only act unaffected when they're secretly affected. Let's make this real. You stop talking to her. A few days go by. Suddenly, she posts a picture looking amazing with the caption, "I never needed anyone to feel complete." And maybe she even follows it up with a story of her out with friends, laughing, partying, glowing. But here's the thing. She never posted like that when you were giving her attention. It's not a coincidence. It's a reaction. That's the signal. That's her pretending she's good, when deep down, she's watching to see if you'll notice, if you'll break silence, if you'll take the bait. So what do? Nothing. You let her perform. You let her pretend. And you keep holding frame. Because when you don't react, she starts to question the power she thought she had. And that's when things start to shift in your favor. 2. She'll start stalking you online. Here's what most guys don't realize. The moment you go quiet, she starts watching. Not always in the obvious ways, but it happens. Women are emotional investigators, and silence makes them curious. When you stop reaching out, when your presence disappears, her mind starts running wild. And one of the first places she turns to for answers is your digital trail. She wants to know what you're doing, how you're doing, and, most importantly, if you're missing her. But instead of asking, she watches. That's what women do. They watch before they act. So if you've ever suddenly noticed an old story getting views from her, or she's always one of the first people to check your posts, that's no accident. That's surveillance. And don't be fooled into thinking this only happens with emotionally invested women. Even the ones who seemed like they didn't care much will do this, because curiosity is tied to ego. The question, why did he stop talking to me, isn't just about you. It's about her image, her value, her power. And when she doesn't have access to your attention anymore, she'll try to get it in other ways, like watching you silently from the background. It might start small. She checks your profile, maybe visits your stories. If she doesn't see anything interesting, she'll dig deeper. Has he followed any new girls? Is he posting less? Is he looking happier without me? These are real thoughts that go through her head. The same way you've probably scrolled through her profile wondering if she moved on. She's doing the same. But here's the part that matters most. She's not watching because she's over you. She's watching because your silence created a question she can't answer. And that question is uncomfortable. Why isn't he chasing me? Why hasn't he called? Who is he talking to now? This is the power most men underestimate. When you're always available, there's nothing to figure out. You're predictable. But when you go quiet, you create mystery. And mystery is addictive. Now, will she admit to stalking your stories, checking your profile, or asking friends about you? Of course not. But the behavior will speak louder than any words. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice the shift. Just remember, you don't need to do anything. Let her watch. Let her wonder. The goal isn't to prove anything. The goal is to protect your energy and let her reveal her level of interest through her actions, not her words. This is how you stay in control. Not by chasing, but by becoming the one who's worth being watched. 3. She'll test you with random texts. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the most common things she'll do is hit you with a completely random message. It won't be deep. It won't be emotional. It probably won't even make much sense. But it's not about the words. It's about the response. Women test with silence, but they also test with breadcrumbs. A quick, hey, did I leave my hoodie at your place? Or a, hope you're good. They all serve one purpose, to see if you're still emotionally available. Now here's where most men fall into the trap. You see that message and immediately think, she's reaching out. She must be thinking about me. And maybe she is. But that message isn't a confession. It's a test. She wants to see if you're still hooked. If you'll rush back into conversation. If you'll break the silence she couldn't handle anymore. It's not that she truly needed to talk to you. It's that your silence created discomfort. And now she wants relief, not resolution. There's a big difference. You've probably been there. Out of nowhere, after days or weeks of no contact, she pops up with something that doesn't match the situation. No apology, no explanation, just a random text like nothing happened. And you're left wondering what it means. That's the point. She doesn't want clarity. She wants control. She wants to know she can still get your attention if she wants it. That you'll still answer. That you're still emotionally open. Because if you are, it confirms that she can come and go as she pleases. And that's not attractive. The key here is understanding what's beneath the message. A woman might send that text from a place of missing you, sure. But more often, it's a quick jab to see if the door is still unlocked. If you fling it wide open at the first knock, you've shown her she still holds power over you. This is why how you respond matters more than the message itself. You're not just replying to a text. You're signaling your value, your self-respect, and your emotional discipline. If you immediately jump in trying to rekindle something or seek validation, she knows she still owns space in your mind. But if you stay calm, detached, and neutral, or choose not to respond at all, you send a louder message. You're not waiting on her. And that drives her crazy in the best way. Because now, she's not just wondering where you went. She's wondering if she ever really had you in the first place. 4. She'll trash talk you to others. When you go silent, one of the more unexpected moves a woman might make is this. She'll start speaking badly about you to other people. Friends, mutual acquaintances, maybe even online. And it can catch you off guard, especially if things didn't end in a huge fight. But this is a common, emotional reaction to losing the attention she was once used to getting. See, silence puts her in a position she doesn't like, a position where she doesn't have control over the narrative anymore. When you're no longer talking, you're no longer giving her attention, validation, or energy. That creates discomfort, and she has to find a way to release it. One way women do that is by turning the story in their favor. And that often means painting you as the villain. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. He's so immature. He's just playing games, or he was never serious anyway. Other times, it gets more personal. But regardless of how it comes out, the purpose is almost always the same: to protect her ego and reputation. Because here's the truth. When you walk away quietly, you leave a blank space. And in that space, she knows people will start wondering, what happened? Who ended it? Why is he gone? And she doesn't want it to look like you were the one with the strength to walk away. So to flip the power dynamic, she starts reshaping the story in her favor. But here's what most men don't realize. This isn't about you. It's about her emotional discomfort. Talking bad about you is her way of dealing with the silence. It's how she tries to convince herself and others that losing your attention didn't affect her. But deep down, it did. If it didn't, she wouldn't need to talk about you at all. And yes, it's frustrating, especially if you know you treated her with respect, or if the connection felt genuine at some point. But your job isn't to defend yourself or argue with the story she's putting out. That's a trap. The moment you respond, explain, or try to clear things up, you're back in her frame. You've given her energy again. You've broken the silence she couldn't handle. And now she wins. Instead, understand that how someone talks about you when you're not around says more about them than it ever says about you. If she needs to trash talk, let her. That's a sign you're still on her mind, even if the words sound ugly. People don't speak on things they've truly moved on from. The fact that she's still talking means you still matter. Let her talk. You stay silent and powerful. 5. She'll try to make you jealous. When you stop talking to a woman, especially one who's used to being in control, don't be surprised if she suddenly starts putting herself out there in ways that seem extra. And no, it's not just for her confidence. She wants you to see it. She wants you to feel it. And deep down, she's hoping you'll react. This is what women do when their ego takes a hit. They try to restore balance by making you feel what they're feeling. Ignored, replaced, or unimportant. And jealousy is one of the easiest ways for them to do that. Because if they can make you jealous, it proves you still care. It tells her she still matters to you, even if you're not saying it. So how does it show up? She might post more revealing photos. She might go out more, hang around guys, or suddenly start tagging herself at places she never used to visit. The goal isn't always to move on. It's to look like she already has, even if she's still thinking about you every day. Let's say you stop talking to her. A few days later, she's posting selfies with captions like, "Vibes unmatched," or she's suddenly out at dinners, smiling across the table from a dude who just happens to be in the frame. Not a boyfriend, not a new man, just a shadowy figure there to stir your imagination. And it works. If you're not grounded, you start overthinking. Is she already seeing someone? Was she talking to him when we were still close? Was I even that important to her? That reaction? That confusion? That's what she's going for. Because if she can get you to flinch, to question yourself, or, worst of all, to break the silence just to confront or ask her about it, she wins. She gets validation. She regains emotional control. But here's the truth. If she's doing all this to get your attention, she doesn't really have someone else. If she did, she wouldn't need to post it for you to see. Women in happy new relationships aren't trying to provoke their ex. They're moving on in peace. But women who are still emotionally tied to you will do things specifically to get a reaction from you. And that's where your power lies. You don't respond. You don't engage. You don't let her performance trigger you. Because if she's working that hard to make you jealous, it means your silence is still echoing in her mind. So let her try, let her post, let her play the game. You stay focused, disciplined, and emotionally grounded. Because real power doesn't chase, it attracts. 6, she'll suddenly miss you. After you've been silent for a while, no messages, no calls, no attention, something interesting starts to happen. That same woman who was distant, cold, or maybe even the one who pulled away first, suddenly starts missing you. Out of nowhere, she feels something, and it's not just nostalgia. It's discomfort with the silence. What you have to understand is that many women don't realize what they had until it's gone. Not because they're blind, but because they're used to being the one who holds the emotional leverage. So when you stop talking, you remove her ability to control the rhythm of communication. You take away her comfort zone, and that triggers a new emotion: longing. Now, this "I miss you" feeling doesn't always come out in words. Sometimes she'll say it. Sometimes she'll just act softer. Other times, she'll throw hints that she's been thinking about you or remembering the good times. But no matter how it comes out, the core emotion is the same. She's feeling the absence of your presence. And let's be honest, you've probably felt this too at some point. When someone you were once close with goes cold, it creates a void. You start thinking about the moments, the laughs, the connection. Even if the relationship had issues, the silence makes those positive memories stand out. That's what's happening to her now. But here's the catch. This feeling isn't always a sign of deep love or true regret. Sometimes it's just emotional withdrawal, like going without a hit of validation and suddenly craving the high again. So don't let her "I miss you" fool you into thinking everything has changed. It might just mean she misses the way you made her feel about herself, not necessarily the relationship. This is why your response matters. If you jump at the first sign of her missing you, you risk falling back into the same dynamic that led to the silence in the first place. But if you remain calm, grounded, and emotionally strong, you force her to reflect on what she actually lost, not just what she's craving in the moment. It's a test of emotional discipline, and it's also a mirror for her, because your silence didn't just trigger her longing, it triggered self-reflection. Maybe she realizes she took your presence for granted. Maybe she realizes you were more valuable than she thought. But that realization only happens when you don't come running back at the first sign of softness. So yes, she may suddenly miss you. But that's not the time to celebrate. That's the time to observe. Watch how she handles it. See if her actions match the feeling. Because real change shows up in behavior, not just emotion. 7. She'll try to regain control. Once your silence starts to sink in, once she feels the shift in energy, the loss of your attention, the unpredictability, she'll want the control back. And trust me, this isn't about love. This is about power, about emotional leverage, about who's in charge of the dynamic now that you're no longer feeding her ego. And this is where a lot of men fail. They mistake her return for something deeper, like growth, love, or changed behavior. But often it's just a power grab. She wants to reset the balance in her favor. She wants to know that if she comes back around, you'll still drop everything. You'll still play her game. You'll still be available the moment she needs reassurance. That's not love, brother. That's manipulation masked as emotion. A lot of men don't want to hear this, but they need to. If you've ever found yourself breaking your silence the moment she shows signs of softness, you're giving up your frame. You're proving you were never really grounded. You were just waiting. And women can feel that. They can smell it. And once they know you're still emotionally under their spell, they'll take the wheel again, and you'll go right back to the same cycle of confusion, disappointment, and self-doubt. This is why you've got to wake up. Stop thinking every move she makes is pure. Stop romanticizing her return. Not every woman who circles back is doing it because she realized your value. Sometimes she just realized she lost her grip, and now she's trying to get it back, with a smile, a text, a compliment, or a sudden change in attitude. It's your job to see through the performance. Ask yourself, is she showing up with accountability, consistency, and honesty? Or is she just doing enough to pull you back in? Because the moment you fold and give her the control again, you lose your leverage, and she knows it. Women don't chase men who are easy to pull back. They respect men who hold their ground. So if she's trying to regain control, let her try. But don't make it easy. Don't fall for old tricks. Don't sacrifice your self-respect just because she decided to pop back into your life. This is your test just as much as it's hers. Be the man who's not afraid to walk away, and mean it. Because once you master that, you stop reacting and start leading. And the moment you start leading, she either levels up or gets left behind. That's how you stay in control, not by fighting her, but by standing firm in who you are. Here's something men need to hear. The moment you stop chasing a woman, you find out who she really is. Not the version she showed when everything was going her way, but the version that shows up when she no longer has control. That silence? It reveals everything. Her mindset, her emotional maturity, her intentions, and it also reveals your own level of strength. Because if you're always the one giving, chasing, explaining, she never has to show anything real. But when you pull back, she's forced to choose between growth or games. And here's the controversial part. A woman's true respect for you begins when she realizes she can't manipulate you. That's the line most won't say out loud, but it's the one that separates boys from men. Respect doesn't come from being nice. It comes from having standards and sticking to them. Now I want to hear from you. If you've gone silent on a woman and seen her act in any of the ways we talked about, comment below. Let me know what happened. I read every single one of them, and I'll respond because this channel isn't just about content. It's about brotherhood. Real men, real lessons, real growth. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and remember, you're not here to chase approval. You're here to command respect. I'll see you in the next one.